Welcome to No Shame in the Home Game, the podcast that cares how your home feels, not looks. I'm your co-host in chaos today. My world is a bit everywhere, but we're here and we're making stuff happen. I'm here with your co-host in calm, what I'm going to call you, Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Lacey. Yes, not only for you, but for me as well. August. It's like July. I was like, everything's under control. Like all the pots are simmering. And then, yes, for me and you both, August turned into like, oh, everything's boiling over at the same time.
The exact same time. And to be very transparent with our listeners, you're going to hear in this episode that Joe and I put in an offer on a house. There's going to be emotion at some point.
And I love that it just encapsulates life. Like life just keeps happening. We're not putting rose-colored glasses on any of this. We laugh when it's funny. We laugh when it's painful. And then we acknowledge all the shitstorm that is just life sometimes.
It is life. And that's actually really relevant for our episode because this is Joe and Lacey part 3 of our journey in our home. And it is a very, I'm going to say scattered episode, but we've got a lot happening in this household. And so we really go through it, and we're in this place of kind of what ifs with the house, with if we do get this house, how are we going to do this with selling our house?
Well, and one of our tags for this whole podcast is we say it's like a reality show, and in true form, it's not scripted. Though, let's be honest, a lot of reality shows are scripted. But yeah, that shows the reality of this, and it's about pivoting when you have to pivot. And yes, your priorities change dramatically, not necessarily suddenly, but your priorities changed. And that's part of this whole home CEO, no shame in the home game is, sometimes we have to drop our priorities in a second and pivot. And that's what this episode is.
It is. I will also say something that I originally was a little hesitant about, but I'm glad that we talked about was we get into finances a bit in this episode, which we have not covered at all in other places. And finances are a big part of home management. Now, you're not going to get a full financial snapshot of my life because that's my business. But we do share about our process and our worries and that kind of stuff. I'm excited for people to continue to see the beautiful chaos that is our life.
Beautiful chaos. And my balance to that term is I love the term imperfectly perfect.
Absolutely.
It's not perfect, but it is imperfectly perfect. And that's, I think it's beautiful. And I love that you and Joe were willing to share everything that's happening.
We'll jump right into Lacey and Joe part 3. Today is also Joe's first day post-job. So we are in between the 2 jobs. Today's Joe's first day off. He's got 2 weeks and he starts at the new job. And we're using these 2 weeks as furiously and fastly as possible to get as much as we can done. My mom was here and she is a badass, as I've said multiple times, and gets shit done. This morning was getting shit done, and then Joe cut the grass. So yeah, been a morning on top of all the other things.
And the other things
being that we have we're putting in an offer on a house, and Indy, our dog, has a giant tumor on his foot that basically has exploded and constantly having to wrap his foot so that there's not blood everywhere on the floor.
He got at it yesterday and it started bleeding. So I dressed it and changed it before bed. And then today I changed it again this morning. But when I moved that bandage, man, it like rocketed blood everywhere. So I don't know if I don't know if the bandage had stuck to the wound and I don't want to say cauterized, but if it had stymied the blood in some way, and then when I moved it just started spurting. I have probably changed that bandage, I don't know what, 8 times so far today, this morning.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I didn't even know that.
It keeps bleeding through it. So I finally went ahead and put a rubber glove over it so that it won't. But it's not like it's soaking through completely. It's like he's bleeding through in one spot, but it's enough that it bleeds through to the bottom of the foot And then when he walks around, he just leaves blood trails everywhere in the house.
Blood paw
So we
prints.
have 2 carpets now that have bloody paw prints along them.
Luckily, one of them is a ruggable rug that we bought on purpose when our previous
washable.
dog, Luna, was having a lot of accidents. And it was just like, you can just roll it up and put it in the washer. So that one, we're like, you walk on that one, but you go. It's just this one we could easily wash.
Yep. Yeah. So I called the emergency vet yesterday, or I'm sorry, I called this morning and said, can you get us in for a surgery appointment? And so we're going to take him in tomorrow to have what is essentially a debulking appointment. So he's going to go in and have surgery on the foot to attempt to remove as much fast as possible, which is something we had done 4 years ago. And was good for 4 years until about 2-3 weeks ago when all of a sudden
It was
the
not
size
good.
of the damn thing just exploded.
Yeah.
It exploded in size, and then I guess yesterday when he was getting at it, it exploded. And
Constitution.
it's like falling apart. It's bad.
Joe just told me I'm not allowed to look at it. He was like, you got to just walk away. I'm like, oh.
So 2 things. One, I'm picturing y'all showing your house and people walking in and they're like, I'm sorry, did a crime happen here? I keep seeing blood splatters.
One thing Joe keeps saying is, I don't know how to remove blood from the deck. That keeps getting said over and over.
I've said it twice. Yes. Yeah, I haven't attempted it, but I did try to wash away what was there by just throwing water on it, and it didn't do anything to it.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming peroxide or pressure washing will be enough.
I was going to say, blood is surprisingly easier to get out than other liquids. I'd rather clean up blood than a lot of other stuff. The other thing is I love how this just goes right to the point of life just keeps happening. We're put a sale on a house. We're trying to figure out the toy room. The dog is bleeding. We got to get surgery tomorrow. It's just, your health stuff is still happening. It's just, and Joe's between jobs. It's just, life just keeps.
Life is coming at us.
You slow down.
You are in the life hole.
Yeah. Joe earlier was like, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. We haven't done anything. Like, shut up, Joe. Save it for the podcast. Because we haven't proactively done anything because we're just keeping up with life right
now.
Yeah. But I will say something, and this is what I've been thinking about, is something that I'm particularly excited about. Is so we did put an offer in on a house this morning. An offer, like literally, as we are speaking right now, our realtor is working on the offer. When we went into houses to look at them, I pictured them, like it was very different than when I did the first time. So like when we looked at houses 10 years ago, I was not looking at it thinking, like, where is stuff going to go? What's the flow of people? Like, one of the things that was killing me is, like, all these places have these entryways. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're never going to walk through that entryway. We're going to be going through the garage. And, like, starting to really see and think through how those things are going to function for us, I think was very helpful for me. I don't know about you. As far as, like, I was like, there's no storage on this floor. So if we do this, we need to do this and this. And
yeah, I was definitely focused on functionality of the house, the different floors. Like, would we spend a lot of time in this basement? A lot of time on the first floor? A lot of time on the second floor? Every house had their own quirks, shall we say, and places where we clearly would be spending more time than other houses. And I kind of wish we could chop up pieces of a lot of the houses that we saw and mix and match, but obviously that's not the case. So I kind of went with the best of the one we saw.
Yeah.
I think it's going to work. I don't love the house, but it's definitely the best of the options.
Yeah. And I think it's such an interesting thing as an adult, like how your priorities change. So when Joe and I bought this house, I was like, I love this home. I love being in this home. You know, light was so important and all these different things. And those things are there. Like one of the houses we went to, Joe was like, what did you think? And I was like, I don't know, it was fine. No, he really wanted me to have more of a feeling about it. And I was like, it's fine. I can make this work. I didn't have a...
I expected you to have stronger feelings about that house because
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this is way better than the last house that we saw. But yeah, you just weren't
care.
feeling it. And that's the thing we realize a lot of the times with looking at houses yesterday was that feeling played a larger part in it than we realized. It was, how does this feel? How does this neighborhood feel? How does this yard feel?
Yeah.
And so, of course, there's logic to it of how many steps and what the distance here and what's the space in the kitchen. But really, a lot of it was like, oh, this back porch feels really nice. And, this neighborhood feels a little uptight kind of stuff. Yeah, the feeling played a lot larger of a part than I think we thought going to.
For Joe, like, I expected Joe to feel less and me to feel more. But we were both like, you felt more and I felt less than I expected. He and I, like, it was so interesting because after we saw the houses, Joe, like, really went in one that he really liked, and it surprised the heck out of me that you liked it so much. And that was just such an interesting, he had such this feeling that I didn't.
And I will say in this case was less feeling and more logic of it had the most spacious, most complete finished basement. The kitchen was the most amount of space out of all of the kitchens we looked at, which to us is kind of important.
Yeah, we have enough equity on our house to have a bridge loan. And so that does allow us to speed up our timeline as far as buying a house, being able to get our stuff out of the house, to potentially leverage the new house as a way to be able to move some of our stuff. And yeah, it's
not just speeding up the timeline, it's doing it completely differently. Normally you have to get your old house ready, sold, and then once it's sold, then you can start looking for a new house. But we can go about it completely differently with 2 kids and a hobbled dog, shall we say, attempting to bleed all over the house. Now we can actually buy a place and get all of our stuff out, and that way selling the current house will be a lot easier and smoother, and it won't have to be us trying to find some place for all of us to go. And
because finding a place for all of us to go all the time, I was not looking forward to. So, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's still a lot.
It's still a lot. And we still, by the way, the surgery tomorrow morning, they're like, oh, you have to put $3,000 down that morning.
Solid.
So, they will accept credit cards. So
damn right they better. Yeah. Such a weird thing. So Joe and I were talking yesterday about how we are able to buy a new house that's a nicer house, that's a bigger house, literally because we bought our house at the perfect time, that the value has doubled.
Yep.
The value of our house has doubled over the past 10 years. That's ridiculous. It's one of those things where I'm like, it's all made up. It very much shows that this is all made up and all that stuff.
We also put work into the house.
We did put work into the house, and we picked a neighborhood on purpose that we really liked and wanted to be in, but wasn't the most expensive, up and coming, that kind of thing.
The neighborhood's really gone a long way since then.
Yeah, so there is part of that, but does that mean it should double in 10 years? I don't know about that. We are cash poor right now because I'm sick. I don't make a consistent income. Joe was our single income, and then will be making more at his new job, but it's also going to have a little leftover. There's going to be a little bit of tightness there when it comes to money.
Yeah,
and then
I still get paid out for all of my, 100 hours of vacation from my last place.
But when you look at it's so weird when we go into the home buying process and they're like, you can borrow. I just did the math yesterday because I was curious. Like, technically with our income and in this house, like, we could get a $600,000 house, which I'm like, oh my God, no, we should never ever have no one should ever give us that money in the current state of our world. And so to think, and it's all because of the equity that we have in our house, Joe keeps joking that we're going to be wealthy landowners because we're going to have two different
properties
But it's not money that you see. And that's so hard still for me to wrap my mind around. And I don't know. And I told Joe, I'm like, I'm just so thankful that we have this opportunity. And I hate that I know that this is not an opportunity other people are going to be able to have. The money of it is scary, but it's there. And I'll be honest, Joe and I figuring out how to manage that is one of the things that we struggle with when it comes to our home management. I know we don't really talk about finances a lot and the management of those, but that is part of home management and how a home CEO would run a home. So I think it is important for us to mention that there's a lot of that stuff happening too.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And maybe sometime in the future we can have a financial advisor or specialist come on because there's no one way to approach it, but obviously that becomes the source of a lot of conflict.
Yeah. And it's so uncertain. Like, hopefully it's not too much for me to say Joe and I had a heated disagreement yesterday. I don't even know if it was a disagreement. We were not communicating. We were having a hard time communicating. A lot of it came down to both of our assumptions on what the other person knew and didn't know, what our own belief, like when we ask people what were some of the unwritten rules in your house and that kind of stuff. That's the same with money, like Joe and I are very different when it comes to our relationships with money, and whether or not some of that is in active truth doesn't matter because we come into it knowing those assumptions and how each other work. There is a lot of stuff when it comes to money that I think it would be remiss for us to not acknowledge.
Yes. And again, we could do a whole episode on this.
Yeah.
I worked with my husband. We met with a financial planner just to do a snapshot of where we are, what our goals are. And one thing that was really helpful was we did a risk assessment independently. And so we got to see where our numbers were actually out of 100, we were within 2 of each other, which was amazing.
Oh.
But yeah, what if your partner wanted to be like, yeah, let's risk everything for this gain. And the other one is, no, we have to have every dollar under our mattress. Yeah. So again, how you approach those things when you manage a house together is very important.
It is. And it is part of how your house flows and, how money gets spent and where. And I do think you show what you value with what you spend. Literally, I think it was on the last episode, Joe was like, I will spend money on beds and sheets. And I'm like, that's my man. We agree on that.
Yeah, anything that you spend that much of your life in or on deserves to put a little bit of extra money into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody said once, everything between you and the ground. So a bed, a tire, and a shoe you should never skimp on. And it's like, oh yeah, and the foundation of your house as well. It's not the pretty stuff, but it's the essential stuff.
Yeah, but I think for us, especially in this moment, in the physicalness of what we're doing, of moving our house, there's a lot of, do we need this? Do we not? This morning was really interesting in the basement. Joe got overwhelmed because there's just a lot of crap down there.
It wasn't quite overwhelmed. It was more, I just didn't know where to start tackling.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure what our goal was.
Gotcha.
With what exactly are we moving? Are we taking donation stuff? Are we taking trash stuff? Are we taking stuff to keep? And so I just needed an inroad into where we were going to begin.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was just trying to figure out is I was like, I don't know where to start because I don't know what our goal is. I don't know what exactly we're doing this first run.
Yeah. And that's the magic of Carolyn is what I'm going to call it, which is just my mom being the badass that she is. She's just like, yeah, just separate them out and I'll take care of it. She and Joe filled up her truck to take to a storage unit. And then tomorrow we'll probably do the same plus the donations.
Not to mention she's taking all of it to the storage unit by herself.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I'll go with you. And she goes, no, it's too far. I'll just take care of it. Make sure that nothing's too heavy for me to get by myself, but I'll just take care of it. And I was like,
oh my goodness.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you. But I was like, I felt so bad because I mean, it wasn't that much stuff. Everything was in boxes and contained mostly. So it should be relatively easy to unpack. But again, shouldn't have to do it by yourself. But the storage unit is all the way up by the new house. So I understand her being like, no, because then I'd have to drive you back down. And it was like, no, it's just easier for her to make the trip and then go home afterwards. So I was like, okay.
And then she's going to come tomorrow and do the same thing. And then on Thursday, do the same thing.
Again, yep.
So I think because we have that level of support with that, like I'm like, okay, that's taken care of. We've got at least the financing figured out. So we are making a lot of progress. I think I'm now starting to worry about kids and daycare and that kind of stuff because I haven't told this to Joe. I keep calling and things are not looking great as far as availability goes.
You're a business owner who cares more about people than profits, although you still want to make some money, of course. And that can feel mighty lonely. That's why I created Feminist Founders, a podcast that explores how to build a more equitable world through entrepreneurship. I'm Becky Mollenkamp, a coach and journalist, and I'm excited to bring you stories of people who, like you and me, are trying to change the business landscape for good. Check out Feminist Founders wherever you listen to podcasts.
If I could pull out a couple of threads, one that you already touched on is, so you're looking at these new houses, you're using a different lens of flow and function. And so it's nice because in a way you're not starting over blank slate, but in a way you get to do a bit of a reset, which is a great opportunity to do with intention.
Yes.
And so you mentioned some things are going to donation. Are you using this as an opportunity to cull through your, That's I know moving is a lot in so many different areas. It's every area of your life. And then so making sure that at least you're maximizing that opportunity with the Carolyn.
Everyone had a Carolyn. I really do. Yes. She's magic.
And when you set up your new house, you get to really think about what worked in your toy room.
Yeah.
And how you're going to put things out. What I'm always amazed by, and it's such a natural cycle of, if you move into a new space and it's sparse, and you start that way, very sparse, things naturally just start to build back up. And so keeping that intention of not letting things build back up, because it feels so good when there's just not a lot.
Yeah.
So utilizing that storage unit of maybe if in 6 months you haven't pulled some of the stuff out, maybe that stuff doesn't come to the house. Using it as a gate to what do we really want to come into the house? Because if once it gets in, it's harder to get back out, I guess is the key there.
Yeah. A funny one this morning is Mom was helping go through the toys in the toy room. And she was like, oh, there's really not as much here as I thought. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I already went through it. It's fine. Yeah, it's all jumbled, but it's just fine because I already went through it. She was like, you did a good job. And my mom telling me I did a good job is like the best thing. And then she got stuff underneath the couch and was a little less impressed, but still. She was like, there's more underneath the couch than there was over there. Like, I didn't have the energy to touch that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She's like, it's not gross stuff. It's just toys. I'm like, yeah, if it's gross, we get it. It's just, I'm not going to fight. As we've said, me, like, changes in elevation of my body is challenging. So if something goes under there, that it's not going to hurt anybody if it's under there, I'm not going to worry about it.
But I will say that was a thought that I had during the house hunting, is that I was really excited to be able to set up these spaces in a way that is thoughtful and actually making sure that everything that's coming into the house has a place. And if it doesn't, it probably doesn't need to come into the house because where we are now, like we've accumulated so much stuff and a lot of things just don't have places. And so they just exist. And then you end up with like junk drawers and boxes full of stuff and just things that sit out on counters and in any empty space. But this moving process allows us to really cut down on what we have. It allows us to be meaningful in where and what is stored and be thoughtful about the different spaces that we have and what we want to happen in them. And it was like, this is a really good opportunity for us to just like almost start over in a sense and really just make this space better than what we've got now.
I think another thing that Joe actually did a really better job of this than me is thinking about how to take my chronic illness into account too, and how we can better accommodate that in this new space. So there's just things like, he was like, there are less steps in this house. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. There are less steps in this house. It is easier. The steps are also carpeted. So if maybe I fall, it's not going to be as big of a problem. Or the laundry's on the first floor. So if we maybe get me like a rolly cart, I can even do some of the like taking it out, switching it over, and then bringing it into a different room to fold. There are just a lot. He even was like, you know what? We should set up your coffee, because it's going to be a 4-bedroom house. And the 4th bedroom is going to be kind of office space for me, but also kind of so that I don't have to be in my bed all the time. Another place I can go to lay down. And Joe was like, we should set your coffee up in there so you don't even have to go downstairs in the morning until you're truly ready and all this stuff. And so I do think that has also been nice to think about. Oh, okay. And don't get me started. We're going to have, Sarah, hold on to your hat. Okay. We're going to have 4 toilets in this house. So 2 full baths and 2 half baths. Okay.
Y'all will have to all go to the bathroom at the same time just because you can. Because that is exciting.
It's huge. Don't even get me started on how excited I am about potty training.
There's at least one on every floor.
At least one on every floor.
So you don't even have to go to a different floor anymore.
Oh, yeah. But the big thing about it for us is we are going to have a bathroom and the kids are going to have a bathroom. So my shower chair can stay in the shower, and I'm not constantly moving it around. There are just so many places where I can see, oh, this is going to make my life easier. Oh, this is going to make my life easier. Now it is more house, but we've been thoughtful about that in a lot of ways.
It'll be more consistent vacuuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But honestly, aside from that, really shouldn't be any less manageable than this house.
Yeah.
On that note, first of all, you could automate the vacuuming with those little robot vacuum cleaners for each floor, which would help, at least on the most trafficked floor. The little circular ones. And then second of all, so again, thinking about the stuff that you're taking into the house, how it's easier just to not let it in. When you're cleaning, it isn't actually the square footage that's the issue. It's how much stuff is in the square footage. So if each room has, if you bring in more stuff, because it's actually every surface that you touch. So just because you have more floor space, that doesn't take that much to vacuum, but it's how much stuff are you putting on the floor space? How much is going on that dresser or on that shelf or on that? Yeah. So again, being thoughtful about your health limitations and time of being really thoughtful. If you brought everything that's in your house now to there, it would be minimal more, even though the square footage might double? Is that accurate?
No,
double?
No, it's
25% increase?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's really, the kitchen will be the big one because you'll have more counter space, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 The most
is
time,
that much
it's not significantly more, but it is more.
Okay.
Kitchens and bathrooms are the most time intensive for cleaning because that's where the most, I don't want to say fluids, but poos and water and all the fluids. Those are the most. So yeah, the bathrooms will take a little bit more time, but
I will happily clean extra bathrooms if it means that we have them.
Again, I'm also excited. If we can knock it out the little potty and just go right into a toilet, that would be great. Having to clean out that little potty was always such a big thing.
I'm thinking you all, bridge is the word of the episode. Bridge loan, bridge daycare, bridge. I think you should be the bridge to our next season of participants, and we should do a series of how you're adapting to the new house, the new cleaning routines, the new everything routines. What did you think was going to work, and now you have to adapt differently? Because I think that is there's a lot to learn from when you move to a new house, especially when you've got little ones. It's really everything all at once.
Everything everywhere all at once. Yeah. I think one other thing that we haven't mentioned this far, but it's important to me, is that in our house right now, there really isn't a space for Joe's things. Like, he has that wall and the closet in the spare bedroom, and that's it. Like, there is no space for your things. And I think that's always been a problem for us, and probably you feeling comfortable. So that is also something that I want to be very thoughtful of, to make sure that Joe has that space. So yes, there's this office space that I plan on being using primarily, but I don't want it to be a place just for my stuff. I want him to be able to have like his computer in there and his D&D and dice and all those different things. This is me saying it out loud for everyone, for the record.
For the record, your laundry rolling cart, which right now is between you and Joe. I can't even see Joe. Your laundry cart has become basically a fixture in our relationship. So I'm like, where's the laundry cart going to be? Like, wherever you are in this new house, I'm like, but is the laundry cart going to be with us? Like, am I losing the laundry cart?
You might be losing the laundry.
Well, what it is we might have one in the laundry room and one upstairs, and that it rotates that way. Or will there be one in the... See? Maybe we need 3. Do we need 3?
Okay, now wait a second.
Because if there could be one for their clothes, like that we like keep in that open space at the top of the stairs, and then one in our closet where our clothes go, and then one in the laundry room. Do you see what I'm saying here? Like the flow? Oh, I see it. I see it. And then I could even use that to roll out and fold clothes. And then I can set the ones that are folded at the end of the stairs for someone to then take up.
They should have their own hampers in their rooms.
Right, well, they have their own hampers in their rooms now.
Well, she's going to need a bigger one.
She is going to need a bigger one.
Hers is just a little laundry, like, bucket type thing with this that's like cloth or
it's more soft. Like for toys.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, when you said bucket, I was like a 5-gallon bucket, like a Home Depot bucket.
No, like it's got an elephant on it and 2 handles, and it's round.
It's like a fabric bucket.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like stiff sides to it.
One idea, and may not apply to you, but for anyone listening, is to have color-coded baskets. So dirty is always in a black basket and clean is always in a white basket. That way, if you're trying to go between floors, it doesn't get mixed up. Like which one's dirty. Like this needs to go up because it's clean. This one needs to go down because it's dirty. That's something that can be utilized. The more people you have in your house, the more important that becomes. But if it's the one person designated as laundry, it's not confusion.
So what you don't see for our laundry is this is the clean one. And there's a dirty one clean over there.
Yeah,
that's how this works, is that Joe knows that whenever that gets full, he can take the bag down. Okay. He washes it, and then he uses that same bag to bring back up and put here. Oh. And then that's my cue to then fold it and get it put away. That's what I argue the kids, I think, should have the same structure system. Because when his thing gets full, it causes problems because then it's on the floor, and then
it's rarely getting full. But I will say he does get a little confused as to whether or not he can put dirty laundry in it, because he asked me yesterday. He was like, what's in here now? And he opened it up and he was like, oh, it's empty. And I was like, all right, bud, you can put all your dirty laundry in it now. And he goes, what about the clean stuff? And I was
it's on the floor for him to put away, and he hasn't put it away yet.
I know exactly where it is, but I'm trying
I've been trying to only fold his clothes and try to make it his responsibility to put them, because he knows where they go. They're in his reach. So that's something we've been working on.
But yes, I think a system where it's obvious what's clean and what's dirty would be helpful for him specifically.
Or you could get some kind of, I'm sure I could find one, some kind of color-coded system. So if it's green and it has a C, he knows it's time to put it away. If it's D and it's red, those are dirty. You know, something for him visually. I mean, if you ask a kid if something's folded, one time I folded an entire load of laundry for my son. He usually folds his own stuff, but I did it because it was just quicker. And then he came in and just dumped it all because he didn't realize it was full.
Doesn't surprise me.
So kids don't see that as clearly as they would like a red or a green. So that's a tool that you can use.
I will say one of the biggest shifts that this system has done for us is it made it okay for there to be clean laundry that's not put away. and there to be dirty laundry. You know what I mean? Because that was always a big thing, is there was never a place for clean laundry that wasn't put away to live. And it was like this assumption we would just fold it and put it away right away. And that doesn't happen. That's not realistic for us. And so I think keeping that mindset for us of clean laundry and dirty laundry will need a home pre being put away. You know what I mean? I think that'll be something we really need to remember.
I feel like laundry, the more people you have in a house, laundry becomes the number one issue. And I've heard that with clients who have teenagers, where the teenagers don't put it away. And I said, well, if they don't care if it's wrinkled, just have a designated basket that's clean, and then they get to dig through that. As long as they know that's the clean, it's going to look as crumpled as the dirty stuff, but they'll know it's clean because it's in a white basket, and they can just dig. Because, if they don't care, then don't stress it getting back to where it needs to go.
I keep track of so many different things, whether it's from the middle, No Shame in the Home Game, all of the different business ventures that are part of those things. And I also keep track of a lot of things in our household, from things that we need to repair and do and flows, all of that stuff. And the thing that I use to do all of that is Notion. Notion is this amazing blank slate where you build your own app and database depending on what you need. They have some amazing templates to help you get started. But once you get in there and start using it, you see how things work and come together. And it is magic and easy and beautiful. It's like a to-do list meets a database with workflows. And then you can even get AI right into Notion to help you come up with words when words are hard, because let's be honest, they are. We have a link for Notion to help you potentially. If you go to noshameinthehomegame.com/NOTION, you can get a link into Notion and potentially sign up for a plan. They do have free plans and paid plans. If anything, go get a free plan because it is so cool, and you'll fall in love like me and become a Notion advocate. I'm real excited. I'm excited, and I love change. Let's just say I'm a change champion. I'm an early adopter, and Joe is not. I don't want to say struggles. He just has a different relationship with change than I do. I
don't love change because I like to get into something, find a system for it, and minimize that. And then change is just
throwing it up in the
disrupting it, and meaning that you have to, and who knows how permanent that change is. And it's so many different new variables to consider, and it's a lot more to think about. So not change is nice because it means that you don't have to spend a bunch of brain power on it. But I'm okay with this change. And this is all good change.
It is. It is good change. It is. And we're sad about leaving our neighborhood and the proximity to our friends and family who are here, that kind of stuff. But I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of move into that next phase in our life.
Well, and for anyone listening who's going through a big change as well with moving, just remembering, as you already pointed out, you love change. Joe takes a lot more energy, and just being aware of even the kids, how each of them is going to adapt to the change, and just being very aware of how are you all restoring your energy in this process? How are you finding your anchor to just ground the family through this so that you don't get to the new house and everybody's on their last nerve, and you want to know so making sure that that's also on the to-do list. How are we restoring ourselves through this process? Where's Joe's time? Where's Joe's time?
I was literally about to say that I'm very conscious that over these next 2 weeks also need to be a time for Joe to rest, recuperate. You heard him say he had a whole bunch of vacation, because Joe never takes vacation because he saves it up for something we might need. There's just a lot of that. So I am aware of it. I may not be great about it, but I'm aware.
I was excited because before we had all of the plans for finding a house and the bridge loan and moving right away and all of that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, and that first week I'm going to do nothing, and that second week maybe we'll start working on the house. And
I know. Honestly, though, the person who really kiboshed that was Carolyn. She's like, I'm coming these days. Actually, I said, these are our 2 weeks to get stuff done. And she was like, I'm coming 3 of the 5 days during the week for both weeks. So
Well, maybe you schedule in a day where there's no Carolyn and there's no meetings and there's no appointments, and you two just enjoy your house.
There are a couple.
I'll make some time.
Yeah. I think Wednesday's going to be a big day for that for you, and Friday. Yeah. We'll go from there. We're trying.
Yep.
I don't know if we're succeeding. We are succeeding.
Yes.
We are succeeding. We're trying and succeeding.
And then things keep cropping up. Like your dog's
blood everywhere.
Giant
my gosh.
Foot blood explosion tumor.
And Indy's an 80-pound dog. He's not a tiny puppy. When he steps, it is a print.
Yeah, and at one point earlier, I had him bandaged, and he had bled through it a couple times. But again, it's not like he's profusely bleeding just everywhere. It's directional bleeding, but it's getting in between. It's
soaking
going
down
to a
the
point
pads.
where when he walks, it's leaving blood print on the ground. And so I was like, okay, I finally changed his dressing for probably the 4th time in less than an hour. And then we're downstairs and I hear him stomping around, and I was like, oh no, because I could tell the way he had jumped from the landing to the first floor, he had impacted rather heavily. And when I went upstairs to check, there was just blood, in a trail of 2 trails of blood, on the first floor. And so, of course, I'm getting a disinfectant wipe and cleaning up the blood. And then I'm trying to quarantine him so that I can pull the bandage off and redo it. And just,
I will say he is the best boy in the whole world.
So
I know
sweet.
I say that, but he just sits there and lets Joe do it. He doesn't move. He stays, and he's just,
he's very calm and gentle. And the only issue we've had was when I put too much pressure on it a couple times, and his lip moved a little bit, and that where dogs are but he didn't growl. It's just his lip moved. So he was like, I'm letting you know that's too much. And I was like, I'm sorry. I realized that was too much pressure. So
honestly, most of the time, the reason why he's walking around is because he's moving to wherever
trying to get
I am.
to where, yeah.
So I know he's just the sweetest boy in the entire world.
It is not pleasant right now. I'm probably going to bandage it maybe 2 more times before tomorrow, but I don't want to mess with it too much because they're going to clean it up before surgery and stuff. But yeah, every time I mess with it, it just moves stuff more. So we'll see how much he's bled through, but I imagine I'll probably have to continue to change it every couple of hours.
Life just keeps happening.
Yes, it does.
Oh,
It does.
man.
Joe, thank you for being willing to share and be open and honest about all of the chaos that is our life. And
Why not?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. It was great getting this perspective. And like I said, I really want to follow y'all to the next house and share the journey and hear how things keep going. And I want Joe to have that space to decompress.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be less eventful.
It's like cliffhangers, though. I mean, with Alex, it's what is she going to name her baby? With you two, is this offer going to go through? I mean, we're ending on cliffhangers.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
That was an adventure for me and probably for the listeners and for you and Joe. It was an adventure for everybody. And I was along for the ride. I actually love listening to you and Joe. Sometimes I just wish that there was a video cam and I could just listen to you all any time of the day, what you're talking about, because I actually really enjoy the way the two of you process and come at it from different angles, but yet have a similar vein.
Very different.
But I really enjoy it. Can you imagine? Maybe we just have another podcast where we just listen to couples discuss topics like this.
I would love that, because I do think it's really interesting how Joe and I's marriage works. I think I've said this before. My marriage is so different than the ones that I see around me in a way that I love because it fits him and I. And it's so interesting how we are two very different people, but the things that we have in common are like our values and our sense of humor. And I really think those two things are what carries us through when it comes to our differences and opinions of a lot of other things. I don't want to say we were just arguing, but we were just having a little bit of a back and forth of things to be done today. And I had to be like, Joe, more than one thing can happen at once. And he was like, I'm well aware. And then he just came in to get socks and was laughing at me. Like, it just...
And that really is actually a beautiful, again, I love the diversity of all of our participant stories. And I really enjoy that we had a couple, because that brings to the heart of home management is how you communicate with those in your home. How do you resolve points of tension? How do you laugh at sometimes the ridiculousness of what's going on and still end up at the end of the day liking one another, which is really the end goal. So...
And I do like him. As many times as I'm like, I like him a lot. We're still waiting for our offer, whether or not it was accepted. So everyone on their edge of their seats about that.
Oh, and like
Indy right now is in surgery. So this is like major cliffhanger.
I was going to say, like true television, we're ending on a cliffhanger and y'all are going to come back for season 2 or whatever's next to find out what happens with the house and the offer and with the dog. And on the note of communication, a little teaser, we are going to have episodes in between our participant seasons. And I am hoping to get in a communication specialist to really give some tools about how do you hold space for your partner to express what's going on? How do you listen? How do you show up? Lacey, would you like me to start, or would you like to start with our moment of gratitude?
I'm going to start. And I am going to say that I am grateful for my local library. I am always listening to an audiobook. My son and I have been doing books on my iPad at night. So me reading out loud actually really, really pulls my energy, because it's one of those things where you don't think about the processes happening there. But when you're reading out loud, you're reading it and you're speaking it. And I'm also managing a 4-year-old. And so it can really take it out of me. And our library hasn't called a Hoopla, which if you don't know about Hoopla, check to see if your library has it, because it's the bomb. And they have children's picture books that also have voice narration. So Isaac and I snuggle in the bed and we have books that he loves. I made a TikTok about this where he's learned that this author, Ryan T. Higgins, is his favorite author, because I've got more books from that author because he really liked one of the books. And he noticed, Ryan T. Higgins, Mom. He put it together that it's the same person. And so I explained to him, like, that's the author. That's the person who writes these. I think it's safe to say he's probably your favorite author. And then the next night he was like, Mom, Ryan T. Higgins, he's one of my favorite people. Him and Dolly Parton. Because we get the Imagination Library, so Dolly Parton sends us books every month. And just the joy that brought me and the tool that is that book being read, and we both still enjoy the moment together. Like when I say Isaac laughs out loud and loves these books, oh my God, he like recites them now. He loves them so much. So to be able to have both of those things for free is amazing. Libraries are amazing. That was one of the first things that I did. I was like, okay, if we're moving, what's my library going to be? And I looked it up. So even though I primarily only use digital resources, I'm still so grateful for a public library. They're amazing.
Oh, I could do a whole series of episodes of how much I love libraries and moments in my life that are keystone moments, memories of libraries. And yes, when we moved to this area 8 years ago and my son was young, we would go to different libraries every day. And I remember talking to somebody who came to visit, telling him about these libraries. And he goes, you spend a lot of time at libraries. And I was like, yeah, because they're amazing. Like each one had a different kids center and different programs and all. And I said, yeah, why wouldn't you spend every day at a library? They're the best.
And it's free. And I know we pay for it with taxes, but
yes,
it's free. Like I can never get over the amount that I get from my library. So I honestly, I probably say it a lot on the middle or like in my newsletter and that kind of stuff, but I just tune the horn of libraries. I'm thankful for them. And I'm thankful for their digital resources because they keep me afloat. Listening to my trashy romance novels makes me so happy. The best.
Love it. Hashtag we love our libraries.
What about you, Sarah?
So this links to our episode, but unknowingly, because I've actually been thinking about this one for a while, was I am thankful for dogs and specifically my dog. I love my dog so much. And I've had 3 dogs as an adult. And it's amazing how my relationship with each dog is so different. So you can't even say dogs in general. Like each dog is so unique. And the dog we have now, I love in a way that I've never loved a dog. She's so adorable without even trying. When she'll lay down and then she'll lift her head up and half of her face will have smooshed into this really funny position. But she looks all serious. She looks like totally serious, but then she has a half smushy face. Or like when we're walking, she'll be in between a walk and a trot. And so like the way, but she's so delicate, the way and she's a 50-pound dog, so she's not small, but the way she,
What kind of dog is she? I am like realizing how remiss it is that I don't know anything about your dog, Sarah.
So we've been told that, so we got her as a rescue. We've been told she's half Plot Hound, which is just a hound breed, and half pointer, short hair, German short hair pointer. And I've definitely seen her point, and we've never trained her to do that. So it's definitely pointer. And she sniffs like no dog I've ever had. So definitely got that hound thing going on. And her name is Ray, which is after a Star Wars character. It's funny when we meet people on the street and they ask and we say Ray. Oh, they know Star Wars if they know she's a female immediately. If they don't know Star Wars, they think she's a male. They think it's Ray. So yes, so she was named after Ray from Star Wars. And oh my gosh, she's so sweet. Yeah, the way she goes up and down. And in the morning, every morning, she greets me with a downward dog. Because she's she'll see me and then she'll sit. Oh my gosh. I drink my coffee out in the back porch. And as long as it's not raining, she'll come out with me. And she'll just sit there and just look. And I think she's just like taking the morning in. She'll just look. And it's just, I can't even tell you how much I adore my dog. I'm a crazy dog person.
I love it. I am too. I don't even want to talk about how much we're spending on Indy's surgery.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Joe just texted me that Indy is out of surgery now.
It sounds like you're laying in bed for a week with Indy while he recuperates.
I love dogs so much. Well, this is our last participant episode. Next week, listeners will be hearing a kind of wrap up from me and Sarah, what we've learned, what we found interesting amongst our participants, and then also just our plans rolling forward and what things are going to look like.
Yes, very excited this journey. Yes, I'm very excited to do a capstone debrief of our journey, and I hope our listeners are excited too.
Me too. All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Lacey.
Thanks for listening to No Shame in the Home Game. We hope you can take a little nugget to use in your own home. Remember to subscribe to the podcast in your player of choice, like us on social media, rate and review, and share with all of your friends. You can always visit joyfulsupportmovement.com to learn more about No Shame in the Home Game and the other Joyful Support podcasts. While you're there, you can join the newsletter or sign up for the Joyful Support Village. Now go out there and spread joy.